Hello and welcome to step 2 of redeveloping units from scratch. Step 2 is where we're going to add those all-important expectations. So on step 1, we figured out what our units are and we put them on these individual nice colorful pieces of paper, and so you're going to need those for this step too. And this is the adding the standards of the expectations. So first thing you're going to do is get those expectations and print off at least one copy and maybe two or three, or you can wait to see if you're going to need a second copy. Don't print them front to back because we're going to cut them out. So as we cut each standard, every one of your standards out, probably just printing them on the front is going to work best. And then you're just going to take each one of those cutout standards and place them under the title of the unit in which you are going to teach that particular standard. Now notice I'm talking about priority standards because the priority standards go in the top right under the title. A priority standard means it is going to be assessed on the final assessment at the end of the unit. So if it's going to be assessed, then it's a priority standard. Um, if it's not assessed, then it's a supporting standard. So you're going to put supporting standards on the bottom. Keep in mind, if the standard is going to show up on some state tests, then at some point it should be a priority standard. So you're going to put your priority standards on the top, your supporting standards on the bottom. The supporting standards aren't necessarily assessed, but they might be used in order to help the students learn the priority standards. And this is exactly why we make multiple copies, because you might have something that's a supporting standard here, but it ends up being priority standard here. And honestly, they should be in multiple places if you have time. So, of course, we have this little multisensory activity that we've deemed very good for our brain. So that's what we're going to do is we're just going to sort those, take each one of those standards. I actually sort them as I cut them out. I cut out the standards and then I just lay them on these pages. And of course, you can always change your mind later, but the best way to do it at first is to lay them on the units that you think, where you think you're going to teach those, and then get multiple copies if you need them, if you see that you need them in a couple different places. And then go through and read through all of them, like read Unit 1 Living Things and read through all of these and make sure that these make sense and that it truly is where you want to teach it. And so on, and go through each one of these. And if they're not taped or glued down, you can kind of move them around. And sometimes you have a few things that you're not real sure where you want to put them, so you just kind of, maybe they don't fit exactly here, but you're going to put them here because it's a good time of the year to do it. Or maybe you decide if it doesn't fit anywhere that you're just going to do a little mini unit. Doesn't matter, but you get them all sorted out. And when you think you've landed on what looks like makes sense, basically you now have your year mapped out. Here's all of your units and here's all of the things that you are going to be teaching. The top part of the things that are going to end up on your assessment. Bottom things are just to help you get to those top things. And so at some point then you glue or tape those down. And now you've got your year mapped out. So the one thing you do have to, oh, well, here's a little example. Here's some of my standards. And I'm pulling them in. I'm placing them in there. There's a supporting that one. That's a priority standard. I read this one and I see, oh, that one goes there as well. And here's another one. Oh, that's my physics unit. That could go in my physics unit and that as well. Oh, that's chemistry. Oh, that's a supporting standard for that, and so on. So the last thing I would do after I've done this is make sure, are every one of my standards, my expectations, someplace on these? And moreover, are they someplace as a priority standard? So that we'll end up testing on that particular thing. If they're not there at least once, then we've got to do something about that. They've got to be put someplace and included. So there you go. Once these are all out there is your course. That's not very many standards. You'll have more than that on there, I hope. But anyways, that will be basically your year. And so this is the end of step 2. Now, all that's left for you to do is to put them into a UOI template, because basically you've got what we call the bare minimum. So remember our little UOI template, and at one point I described what the bare minimum was, and that's where you have all this top part filled out with the unit number and name, unit 1, living things, and all this part filled out, the correct name up here. And then this part right here, that's element 1. So and that's where priority standards go here, copy and paste. Supporting standards go here, copy and paste, and this expands. And then my objectives written from these priority standards. So standards, objectives. That's element 1. And once you get all of those copied and pasted back into here, you've got your bare minimum. So then elements 2 and 3 are right here together, and then element 4 is below them. And once you get 2, 3, and 4 filled out, now you have what constitutes a beautiful unit. So there are some videos that I did to explain that work. So the link isn't going to work. It's not going to be a hot link in this particular video, but I will give you a link to this whole entire Google slide presentation, and those will be hot linked in there. So, and it'll be all of the steps all in a row. So it'll be one great big document, and you can just scroll down through and find these links. So how do you get a copy of the UOI template without messing up the template? Well, this gives you those step-by-step instructions right there, that little video. How do you fill out that UOI template? Elements 1, 2, 3, and 4? Well, this video right here tells you exactly how to do that. And then how do you put your UOIs up into its very own singular shared drive? Well, this link right here, that's going to show you how to do that. So here is one thing I really want you to keep in mind about this shared drive thing, and this is new because shared drives, we only started using them last year. So this is a new thing, and I'm going to try to say it over and over again. Shared drives is the new home for your UOIs, and that's where you're going to put them, and then forever do all of your revisions, all of your curriculum work up in that shared drive. Every one of your courses or your content has its own, every one of your courses or content or classes has its own shared drive. And you and I and the school, we're the only ones that can get in there. No one else can get in there. So it ends up being a very, very, very safe place, and there's not as much movement in there, and there's a whole lot less freedom. So therefore, we have more control, and it's proved to be a much safer place to keep our curriculum. It doesn't seem to disappear like some of our previous work just kind of would poof go into the night because of shared with me and copied and all of these things. So the shared drive seems to be the safer place. In fact, let's see, this video right here, I do say that you can have your own copy down in your drive, but honestly, that's kind of dangerous, because if you leave it down in there, you might be tempted to do the work down there, and any work you do in your drive is not going to go up into the shared drive. It's not going to automatically be changed up in the shared drive. So if I were you, I'd move it up a shared drive and then never look back. Just stay up there in that shared drive and do all your work right up in there. So that's a biggie, and basically that's how you do step 2, putting your standards in there, which then leads you to copying and pasting and putting up into your UOI template and putting it in the drive. So step 3 is writing the assessment, and I sure appreciate you listening. Bye.